I move to return from executive session.
Second.
Mrs. Lawson?
Yes.
Mr. Girth?
Yes.
Mrs. Stone?
Yes. Let's join me please with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As most of you are aware, we lost one of our firefighters earlier at the end of January, and we'd just like to have a moment of silence to honor firefighter paramedic Mike Willenbrink. Thank you. Okay, move to adopt the agenda?
Second.
Mrs. Lawson?
Yes.
Mr. Girth?
Yes.
Mrs. Stone?
Yes. At this time, we will open public hearing case 12024 and 1303, 1291, 1279, and 1267, 8 Mile Road.
Thank you. This is case 1, 2024 Anderson. This is a zone change request. The applicant is Josh Black of John Henry Homes on behalf of 8 Mile Development Company, LLC, who is the property owner. The location, again, is on 8 Mile Road, 1303, 1291, 1279, and 1267 8 Mile Road. The request is a zone change from C, single-family residence, to DD, planned multiple-family residence. The applicant's proposing to construct 6 two-story townhome buildings. This would consist a total of 36 units, 6 units in each building, with a proposed density of 7.09 units per acre. So a little bit of the site history. There were single-family homes on the property that have since been removed. There was an open house back in September of 23 to discuss a future land use map amendment, and then the applicant started the future land use map amendment process to change 2 of the parcels from single-family residence to transitional residence to match some of the surrounding properties that had already been designated as transitional residence, and this was ultimately approved. So the case here, history on this specific zone change, on January the 4th, Hamilton County Regional Planning Commission made a motion to approve the zone change. Only 4 members were present, which constitutes a quorum, but in order to pass a vote for a unanimous decision must have been made. And there were 3 yeses and 1 no, so therefore the resolution to pass did not pass. So it resulted in a denial. So on January the 22nd, 2024, the Township Zoning Commission held a public hearing, and the Township Zoning Commission did recommend approval of the zone change with conditions. So we'll go fairly quickly through the presentation because you have seen this during the future land use hearing, and the plans that were presented at that time have not changed for the zone change. There was a complete package that was submitted then, detailed with the elevation drawings and the site layout, landscaping plan. All that has remained the same. So outlined in red is the site in question, the parcel in question. Again, this is 8 Mile Road. This is Cherry Lane here, which is a private drive, and these homes front on Cherry Lane. Just off of the map here is Beachmont Avenue. This is a zoning map. The yellow is single family, C, single family with a minimum lot size of 6,000 square feet. The blue is planned office. Again, this all is still zone C, single family. This was the site plan and the development plan that was submitted during the future land use, and again, now for the zone change. The driveway is proposed to be a private drive, stub to the north here. Again, 6 buildings with 6 units total. a T turnaround at the end of the drive with the detention shown at the end of the private drive. And to give you perspective again, this is Cherry Lane just off of the site. And there is proposed landscaping. Well, this is the grading plan. This is the proposed landscaping plan that does have a buffer to Cherry Lane, because the back of the new units would face Cherry Lane. So to provide a buffer and privacy for the new units and the existing homes on Cherry Lane, a landscape buffer is proposed along this area, as well as property to the north. There is a single-family home located right here. So there is proposed landscaping along that northern property line, as well as around the units that face 8 Mile. This is a photometric plan. I know it's hard to see, but the photometric plan, the lighting plan, is in compliance with zoning. These are elevations of the proposed units, and there are two styles. This style are the interior units with the front entry garage, again the front and the rear, and then the building that is proposed to face 8 Mile Road is this elevation here on the bottom. So it would have a garage on the back, a rear entry garage, and these units would have a front appearance on 8 Mile Road with their front door facing 8 Mile Road. Again, just another image. A proposed building mixture of stone and siding is proposed. Again, these would be the units facing 8 Mile with the garages in the back. These would have the front entry garages, the interior units. These are some drone photos that we took. Again, this was for the future land use change, so these were taken last fall. This is Cherry Lane, looking generally toward the west, and then this area is, to the northwest of the site. Just spinning around again, looking more north along 8 Mile Road. And these are just some of the site photos. These are taken again back in September and October. So with the zone change, there are different items that we're looking at our adopted township plans. The Zoning Commission felt that this was consistent with the comprehensive plan with both the land use and development chapter, housing chapter. Again, I apologize if I'm going too fast, but please stop me if you have questions. We also look at compliance with the zoning resolution. So the proposed zone change is for DD plan multifamily, which does require a front yard setback of 40 feet. There is the units that are facing 8 Mile are proposed to have a front yard setback of 31 feet versus 40. So if this is approved, a variance is requested for that. And again, in the C zoning district, which is surrounding, a front yard setback is actually 30 feet. So the 31 feet would be consistent with the surrounding C zoning district. We also compared the plan with the township's design guidelines, and again felt that it was consistent with the site planning component of the township design guidelines. Again, these are all identified in the staff report, so I won't go into too much detail. Architecture, lighting. The style of the townhomes are proposed to be 2-story, which is consistent with the surrounding single family and consistent with the residential zoning district. Again, we did talk about lighting. Lighting is proposed to be more residential in scale and is compliant with the zoning resolution. It is consistent with the township trails plan. A sidewalk is proposed along 8 Mile Road along the frontage, which does tie into an existing sidewalk that is there at Cherry Lane. So this does have pedestrian connectivity up to Beachmont Avenue. And then the tree committee as well did review this, and this was a portion of their letter. They did recommend a diversification of trees and species and kind of reserve the right to look at the final development plan as well when more detail may be provided at that time. So the Zoning Commission's recommendation was approval based off of the 6 reasons listed on the slide there. They also did recommend approval of the variance. And again, only one variance was requested, and that was for a 31-foot setback from the right-of-way of 8 Mile. Extra right-of-way is required to be dedicated because this is a zone change. So the 31 feet is from the proposed right-of-way, not the existing right-of-way. And there were two recommendations, or two conditions based on the zoning commission's recommendation. One was that the parcels be consolidated into one parcel because there are multiple parcels currently. And then number two, that a future cross-access easement to the northern property line for emergency and pedestrian access be shown. And that was brought up by Hamilton County Regional Planning Commission, and where they were recommending in this general location at this stub that an access easement up to the property line be provided for any type of future development, that an access easement would be there regardless if it was just a pedestrian easement or for emergency purposes as well. The other items that were brought up at the zoning commission meeting, the zoning commission did have several questions about building materials. They also had questions about landscaping and periphery trees, especially in this corner of the property, because they felt that when you compare the landscaping plan with the grading plan, they didn't necessarily agree with each other, that more trees may have to be removed due to the grading of the property. So they did recommend that this area be looked at a little bit more detail, especially if it is approved and advances to the final development plan, that area be studied a little bit more to provide buffer to the single-family residents back here. They also, there was discussion about the cross-access easement and the need for it and the importance of it. We did stress the discussion with the future land use map that we felt that this type of land use, future land use, that this should be the northern border. That was discussed at the trustees meeting. However, we did feel like it's still important to have an access easement in place should the property to the north, you know, even these two properties are larger than the C zoning district would permit. So whatever type of development in the future, at least one would be in place. And this is fairly typical with development on Beachmont Avenue to require the current applicant to at least provide an easement if or when, if ever, an easement would be useful in that situation.
But that easement would have to be granted by the property owners to the north of it?
Correct. So the condition is that only the applicant provide an easement on their property should in the future the northern property owner would like to connect to it. So that is the staff report. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have.
I do have a question. Thank you for that. Just about the traffic. So that was something that came up quite a bit too.
Yes.
And obviously, I'm not an expert, so I have to trust the county when they're saying that this development would not cause a substantial change to the traffic flow pattern, congestion. Do you know how often that's reevaluated? So, because I don't know when that assessment was done, and then is that done like every 5 years or so?
So the county, so Hamilton County engineer is the authority for 8 Mile Road because it's a county roadway. With a development proposal such as this, a zone change request, or even a PUD or any type of change of use, they do require a traffic impact study. And the traffic impact study identifies what this particular development may do to the existing conditions. It doesn't, so it's only evaluated once. And in this particular situation, traffic impact study was done with the proposed single-family development, Dacey's Landing. And the county requested that the number of units be updated, but a new traffic impact study was not warranted once the applicant updated their numbers. The change of the number of units and the impact on the study proved negligible, and that no improvements were needed. So a new traffic impact study wasn't required because it was determined with the updated numbers. No improvements were warranted.
That makes perfect sense.
Now, with that being said, it doesn't say that the traffic in the area is bad or good. I think everyone acknowledges there's the traffic in the area can be improved.
Separate from the development.
Separate from the development, but this development is not going to make that worse.
That's right. Thank you.
And that's, the way the process works is that the county can't require this owner to correct all of the problems in the area.
Exactly. Okay, thank you. Sorry, Dee.
Can you remind me what was the difference in units between the?
Well, the applicant has a slide on that, and that was presented during the zoning commission, so I'll let the applicant discuss that a little bit better in more detail.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Paul, if I can, I think we heard this on Clough as well. I mean, the average, the daily traffic on 8 Mile in that area is about over 10,000 cars a day. So the additional cars from this, 30 some odd units, and it's typically, I think this type of unit's probably half to 2/3 the traffic count of a single family home. It's a lower because they're smaller, because it's just the way the engineers do their forecasting. So, you begin to figure out how that adds to the overall whole. It'll have an impact, but we have plans for 8 Mile and Clough to add right turn lanes on 8 Mile. We have plans at Beachmont and 8 Mile as well, but those don't fall on an individual developer along the corridor to make those changes.
That makes sense. Thank you.
I'm good.
I just had one question.
Mhm.
You mentioned that at Hamilton County, there were only 4. How many people are supposed to be there?
7, they have a 7-member commission, so 4 votes are needed to pass a decision. So there were only 4 present at the time, and not all 4 members voted for. So only 3 members voted affirmative, 1 negative, so therefore it did not pass.
What was discussed in that meeting that was?
So during the meeting in regional planning, which we did not include regional planning staff report because it didn't pass, but there was discussion. Regional planning had originally requested additional parking for these units, even though it did meet the minimum zoning requirements per our zoning resolution. They were requesting quite a few more parking spaces. And the applicant can address this too. They have experience with other similar developments, and they felt that what they are supplying with this development is adequate and meets the needs of this facility. And again, it does meet the minimum requirements of our zoning resolution. So that was one item of discussion. Beyond that, I think all the commissioners were mostly in favor of the development. That's how the discussion was. We never received minutes back from regional planning or a written decision of why someone voted against it. So that's, the discussion was mostly positive, so it was, we're not sure why the negative vote.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions?
No.
Okay.
I think the applicant pulling up their presentation.
Good evening. My name is Josh Blatt with John Henry Homes. And I apologize, you've heard this a lot before, and a lot of what I have is similar to what Paul has to say, so I'll try and make it brief. First, I think your question was on the traffic counts. So, let me just go forward. I'll just skip forward. So this is the traffic study here, and the traffic for peak weekday traffic they're saying is 17 trips, which is they're saying it's 13 out, 4 in, and on weekends they're saying it's 20 cars at peak times, which is 13 out and 7 in. And from our understanding is multifamily or uses actually less traffic than single family, and I think that's probably that our tenants tend to be older, they're not traveling at peak times, not necessarily working. It's a lot of people who are empty nesters and want to stay in the area, and their kids are there, or their friends and family are close by. So I'm not an expert on traffic. So just really quickly, we told you a little bit about our company when we were here last time. We've been in business for 30 years. The company's owned by myself and my brother John, who's with us tonight also. We're consistently ranked by the the Business Courier as one of the largest builders in Cincinnati. We've been participating in home shows, Homerama. We're very well known. We've both served on the board of the Home Builders Association of Greater Cincinnati. I actually served as the president of the Home Builders and also a representative to the Ohio Home Builders Association and the National Home Builders Association. We've also participated in multifamily construction, which is probably more relevant to what we're talking about tonight. We are part of Loveland Station, which is in downtown Loveland, where the Graders is. We're participants in Riverwalk Flats, we converted an old lumber yard in downtown Milford. And then the last project is Mason Oaks, which is very similar to this, which is kind of the entranceway to downtown Mason, which is Mason Oaks, which is 44 townhomes, very high end. So the project we're doing tonight, as we've talked about, is obviously we're trying to take this property, which is currently vacant, not the most attractive, but a very visible site for the township, and convert it into 36 very high-end townhouses. Project will be 36, they're high-end, luxurious finishes. Each unit will be 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths. Each unit has its own garage, its own driveway, private entrance. Finishes are all very high-end with quartz countertops, LVP flooring, stainless steel appliances, microwaves, refrigerators, second-floor laundries, tile baths, smooth ceilings, and upgraded faucets. But more importantly, I think what you're concerned about is the exterior of the units, and we've really spent a lot of time on these. And first and foremost is it's a transitional zone, and that's why it's got a very single-family style design to it. All the units are 2-story. It's got dimensional shingles to it. Each unit has a porch on it. There's a lot of stone and there's siding. The doors have little windows in them. We got the grid pattern in the front. And we took very carefully, and the design for it is why on 8 Mile, if you look at the design, we put the garages in the back on those units. So as you're driving down, it gives it a much better look from the front. And we wrapped the stone on the first buildings for everything visible from 8 Mile. We wrapped stone around on the first floor to really enhance that upscale look to it. We did hear in the zoning commission that there was some preference for hardy plank on the units and maybe more stone. And one thing we will do is we'll work with the staff, if we're approved tonight, to be sure that what we take for the final development plan hopefully incorporates everything before we get there. But we did hear their feedback, and we will take that into account. With that, the last thing I want to just highlight is obviously the site's very heavily landscaped. We did hear the feedback on landscaping, and we do plan to go back and look at that corner. We're actually going to go out and do a formal tree study on it just to be sure that when our final plan comes back that, let me just go back to that slide on landscaping. So you can see we've got heavy buffering along the peripheral of the property, and the intent was to really landscape us separately from all the neighbors and be respectful to their houses and their homes. So that's a quick run through. I think you guys have heard this before. I'm happy to answer any questions if I've missed something or want to clarify anything.
But, I'm just looking, when you said that, so along the back of the property, whatever,
There we go. Yeah,
that goes along Cherry Lane,
yeah.
so you are gonna plant.
Oh, we've got heavy landscaping there, absolutely.
So they're not just looking at the back of something.
That's correct.
Yeah, this is this buffer here.
Yeah. Yeah, that was very important to us.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
I don't think so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else want to make a comment? Yes, please step up and state your name, please.
I'm Sharon Disher and live on Portway Lane, Portway Drive. Okay. I'm just concerned about the roadway because we live very close to this area. And what happens when people are turning off of Beachmont onto 8 Mile and they want to turn left into Speedway, which this is just beyond Speedway, there's always a traffic pile up there where you only have so much room before you hit Beachmont. And then people are stuck on Beachmont trying to turn in. And people are stuck at the waiting for the traffic light to turn, they're blocking Speedway. So nobody can turn left, and then when people start moving into this, just a little bit further down, I'm wondering, is the road going to be widened for a left turn lane there to fix that problem? Because it's just going to get worse. Just a food for thought. That's it.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. Comments?
Lexi?
Yeah, sure. So thank you for your comments. And I did just wanted to say that I did watch the zoning commission meeting, and I saw comments there. I also drove by there today. I would say going down 8 miles a part of my almost daily route. But I did want to go back there again today, and I went right, I think as the kids were getting out, the middle school was getting out, so I could kind of see the traffic. There are some issues down there, and I think too there's a bit of a hill there. So when you're sitting on Cherry Lane, there's a tiny bit of a hill, so it makes some visibility difficulties. When we buy our homes, obviously we don't purchase the view or the surrounding homes, but it does impact where we decide to live and raise our families. I know there are houses we looked at as a family that we didn't choose because of traffic concerns, so I understand it. What I also understand from what I'm hearing, the clarification today and as well from previous meetings, is the traffic issue is an issue, but it's a separate issue from this development. And also looking at the fact that while the zoning is different, and yes, this was recommended, the density is the same, and that is an important thing for us to keep in mind and consider. So I thank you, Paul, for the presentation and also for the comments, not just today, but last month at our other meeting. And these all are things that we heavily consider and weigh heavily, so thank you. And that's it for me.
Thank you. Gotcha.
To address Sharon, your point, in Portway, is that the development on the south side of 8 Mile? So like the Tidewater, yes. And Tidewater is a great example of, I think, kind of more of that type of product in Anderson would be great. And while this is not detached, it is a similar product in the sense that I think it's going to appeal to the type of residents that are back in Tidewater, and you guys have a great neighborhood. The traffic at Speedway, I have been talking to Speedway. They have been sitting on their hands for 3 years. Speedway bought the McCall's building that is behind it, that kind of wraps around it. 3 years, maybe even longer than that now. Shortly after that, 7-Eleven bought Speedway, so 7-Eleven owns Speedway now. So their plans to raise that entire Speedway store, move it back, and rebuild it were put on hold. Well, we're not going to sit around anymore. So we finally started making calls. We now have the right person in that giant organization that we've been talking to and are providing them information, including what is going to go on right past their store. And I'm hopeful that that will get them to move forward with their plan, which will allow the county, which owns 8 Mile, ODOT, which owns Beachmont, and us all to work together to alleviate some of that traffic on Beachmont. So I'm hopeful that that's going to happen. That's it.
Okay. This time we will close the public hearing.
I think we have a motion. I'll entertain a motion to approve and adopt a zone change from C single-family residence to DD Plan multifamily residence for the property located at 1303, 1291, 1279, and 1268 8 Mile Road.
Second.
Mrs. Lawson?
Yes.
Mr. Girth?
Yes.
Mrs. Stone?
Yes. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you.
Okay, and now presentations and recognitions. We have an oath of office for one of our new firefighters. It's you. You were the one that wasn't here last month.
We're glad you're here today.
The rest of your class came back, or some of them did.
Oh, that's nice.
So good evening. Your last meeting, you had the opportunity to swear in 5 of our 6 firefighters. One didn't make it, so we're pleased that he could be with us tonight. This is Drew Hilgefort. He's a township resident, lifelong resident. We're very happy to have him as a member of the Anderson Township Fire Department, and we look forward to seeing what he can do for us for many years to come. So, Mr. Johnson, we'd ask if you would administer the oath of office, please.
That's always fun.
Yes.
Thanks for coming, guys.
See ya.
See ya. Okay. See, everybody leaves. Okay, don't shake your ass again.
Was it something we
Bye,
said?
thank you. So, at this time, we are online now, people will see you. At this time, I want to introduce our County Commissioner, Denise Driehaus. She's not on the agenda.
Or 11.
Add her in, so she is here.
Yeah, thank
Love to
you.
hear from you.
Yeah, glad to be here. It is fun, isn't it?
I
Just
know.
swear somebody.
Important stuff.
Yeah, so I'm County Commissioner Denise Driehaus. I was here back in 2017 when I was doing my 49 and 49. So 49 jurisdictions in Hamilton County. I tried to visit all in 49 days. I did not do that. That was impossible, come to find out. So it was like 49 weeks. But anyway, that's the last time I was here just to offer information about partnership possibilities with the county. And so I've handed out a menu of opportunity, as I like to call it. I gave this out in 2017, actually. It was not as detailed or robust as this one is, because we have more opportunities than ever to partner with local jurisdictions on a number of different things, as you can see, whether it's with the Sheriff Office, with the patrols, the Addiction Response Coalition, of which I'm the chair, Alloy, which is our economic development arm. I mean, maintaining fire hydrants, buying salt together, you name it, we've got some opportunities. And I'm going to touch on some of the economic development opportunities in a second, because you all have taken advantage of some of those, and we're grateful for that partnership. But before I do that, and I'm not going to go much past my 3 minutes, by the way, I just want to give a quick update. No. I usually am on the agenda, but no, I hear you. So a quick update on the county. Things are going well at the county. You've got a structurally balanced budget that we passed at the end of the year. We did have a $40 million gap between what was requested of the commission. So think about the sheriff's department, the treasurer, the recorder, all the different departments that fall under the county, and the courts. And so what we had available was here, and $40 million request was here above it. And so we had to right size that. The good news is we did. And also the good news, I think, is that the reason for that gap was primarily because those departments, these are under some of the other elected officials at the county, were trying to offer competitive wages to the employees of the county. Mm-hmm. So we did this last year, and because we are losing people in the county to other counties, to other agencies, and when we interviewed people and said, hey, what's going on here, it's the competitive wage piece that we were missing. And so we did a competitive wage study. We also did an equal pay study, ladies, and we're 98 cents on the dollar, which I think is pretty good. We got 2 cents to go, but we're getting there. So the idea is that we are now paying competitive wages, and so all the other electeds followed suit. And they did the same thing, which I applaud. It just costs a lot of money to do it. And so the benefit of that to the county is that we're now recruiting and retaining good employees in our organization. The good news to you is they're your constituents that are using our services and rely on somebody answering the phone when you call 911, or the sheriff deputy being well-trained when he comes out to patrol your neighborhood. So it is really important that we buckle under and get that right, and so we finally have done that at the county. So I know it's kind of wonky and little nuts and bolts, but that's really important to the function of the county, and so I take it very seriously. Some of the other things that are going on, you may have heard about the Bengals lease is going to expire in 2026. We are currently negotiating with the Bengals. We're always negotiating with the Bengals. There are always conversations going on about this or that, and we've had many amendments to the original lease that was agreed to many, many years ago, well before my time. Lease isn't the best lease we've ever seen, so we're going to hopefully do better. But the idea is that we do it in collaboration with the Bengals. And so we've got quite a bit of renovation we need to do, hundreds of millions of dollars. At the stadium, we are required to do that work as a county. It is a county asset. We all own it. Right, taxpayers own it, and so we've done a facilities assessment plan to narrow in on think escalators, the plaza, ADA accessibility, concessions, you name it. It was all reviewed in the assessment plan, and so for the first time ever, the county and the Bengals are participating in a financial stack to address some of those needs. That's never happened before. And so I feel as though it's a very good sign as we move into negotiations with the Bengals that we are now working in collaboration, and it's about a 58-42 split, so the county 58, the team about 42% of the spend. So we're looking to that kind of collaboration, moving into the much larger spend that we have to do related to the stadium. And not only the Bengals, but the NFL is participating in these financial stacks, as are different states throughout the country. And so we've got a team, a very expert team that knows something about these national agreements, and we've got them sitting at the table with us saying, this is what the market is doing, and so that's something we need to pay attention to. And so I remain optimistic about the negotiations until I shouldn't be, so far so good. But we're doing that in earnest right now at the county. And then another really big project is what's going on at the convention center. We are doing a $200 million renovation of the convention center downtown. We're doing it in conjunction with the city of Cincinnati. I hope collaboration is what you take away from this. So the city is, and because it's unusual, right, that the city and the county are in lockstep. We passed the exact same resolutions related to the convention center. So we are doing that in conjunction with them and the state of Ohio. We're getting some capital dollars there. Doing this renovation knowing that what we really need to do in the long term is an expansion of the exhibit space to bring in more conventions, bigger conventions. The renovation is going to help and drive some more activity down in that district, but eventually we're going to have to do the expansion. We simply don't have the money to do that right now, but we need to do the renovation first anyway. So here we go. We're going to build a headquarter hotel will go into the south. Private developer will come in and develop that building. We will participate in that by way of incentives, but I've seen renderings and it's pretty cool. It's like a 5-flag hotel with a skywalk over to the convention center. It's really nice. It will also incorporate meeting rooms and some social space so that what we don't capture with the expansion right now on the convention center side will be captured over on the hotel side. So we're looking at this as a district. There's a parking lot there, Convention Place is there, and we're looking at a couple of blocks instead of piecemeal, like it has been done in the past sometimes, but rather as a district and doing it together. So again, I think very good news. More to come on that. The Sharonville Convention Center, by the way, was just expanded. They just finished the expansion. The Todd Portune which was lovely. The exhibit space was just opened, and so that is good timing, right? Because we're going to have to close down the downtown location, but the northern location now has larger capacity, and so some of the conventions can be shifted up to the north. So that's some of what's going on. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have, but let me talk real quick about partnerships. I'm pointing at you, Vicki. So we are offering more partnership opportunities than ever at the county. You've taken advantage of a lot of them, CDBG dollars, the recycling program dollars. I've got a list here of some of what you have done. You've taken advantage of the small event grant. I'll get to that in a second. So the total over the couple of years, it's 2020 through 2023, you all have participated to the tune of 471 million, or no, 1,000.
I was going to say.
Thousand.
Wow.
Well, that'd be a lot. That'd be a lot. Congratulations. $471,000. But that's really important because as we make these programs available, they don't work unless you all are applying for those dollars to benefit your community. And so thank you. I assume it's you doing the work or over, yeah.
It's not me.
Yeah, well, I don't know it's not Josh, so I don't know who it is, but whoever's writing those applications, you've had some success, and I look forward to continued partnership. We do have a revitalization grant that you have not taken advantage of. So this one is, I actually authored this one a few years ago. It is meant to do kind of gap funding for a catalytic project that you might have in your business district or somewhere in the community. It can be hundreds of thousands of dollars from the county to help with the financial stack for that kind of project. And so that one opens up in March. I just encourage you to take a look at the website. Pay attention to that one. You might qualify. We do try to kick that funding around because some communities have taken advantage of it and they know about it, and so they keep applying, right? So we're looking to kick that around to a number of different communities. The small event grant, which credit where credit's due, Commissioner Dumas authored this one a couple years ago. This grant is meant to help with a program that you already are doing, a small event that you're already doing. It's meant to build community and help you either amplify what you're doing or build on what you're doing, expand what you're doing. Those are much smaller, like $15,000 to $20,000, and I can see that you got one last year for about 10 grand. So thank you for the partnership again with that. So just again, just kind of recapping the partnership opportunities. I really value what you all are doing, and I want to work with you to make sure that we're kind of hitting it on all cylinders in the county. So thank you for the time. I really appreciate it, and I'm happy to answer questions if they're not too hard.
It was much longer than 3 minutes.
I think it was 4. I think it was 4 minutes.
I would just like to say that Dee makes more money than me, so
Oh, good.
we're way
So
ahead
you're
of-
balanced,
yeah.
is what I'm hearing.
For some reason, I don't know how that happened,
How
but
does
she
that
gets paid
happen?
more than I do, and I'm very upset about it.
Because she's been here longer?
No.
Because they changed the rules after I got, he was in first.
Oh,
I don't know.
that happened with
We're going to look into it, though. for
Chris
sure.
Monzel and I had that same situation, and then it was rectified. Yep.
The second thing, can you get your regional county planning committee to show up to
To
the
show up,
meetings?
I know, I took that away.
That was a
I did.
little,
That's
Yeah,
why I asked the question.
I heard that. Yeah, I heard you asking that question. We do have some vacancies on some of these boards. We just appointed 5 people today to various boards. So, yeah, duly noted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right.
and for those that don't know, Commissioner Driehaus is a very good karaoke singer.
Oh, boy. We had the pleasure of doing a leadership academy together, and there was one social night, and should I tell them what song you did, Josh?
Everyone already knows, so
Baby Got Back? Is that, I mean, have you heard this? It's something to see.
I'm pretty good at it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I want to say thank you to you also for serving on the One Ohio Foundation. Those, I don't know if you heard the news, but those dollars that are they're going out this year. Finally, we got some dates. And so these are opioid settlement dollars that are coming into your community to address some of the needs. We've been waiting for a long time for the foundation to get its act, no, I shouldn't say that we're on the foundation, but to get the money out. And so now the local foundation will be able to look at those applications and push those out in the community. Thanks for your service.
And Mrs. Stone, if I may, thank you for your support. And we have, we're going to be submitting here in the next day or two another grant application for the small events.
Great.
Our board is also sending a letter of support for CMHA for the project on Crowdy Court for a home
Yeah, great.
to renovate some properties over there. So thank you. And I think we hold the record. I know we are the favorite as far as the Hamilton County Sheriff's Office. I think we've contracted with the county sheriff for more than, isn't that right, Tom? I think we've contracted with the sheriff for more than 50 years, and one of the few townships to fully utilize their services, and it's been a tremendous asset for our community.
Delighted. And I think
So-
we just renewed that contract.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not tonight. Not today. We'll work on that.
This small event grant application is due by tomorrow,
Yes.
just so you know.
Mr. Severs has written that up, and it's going to be If he hasn't sent it already.
It was submitted about an hour ago.
About an hour ago. See?
And so the board's aware, we allowed the Anderson Park District to submit rather than us last year for Anderson Day.
Yes.
So we were collaborating with.
Love that.
See, we believe in collaboration.
It's perfect, it's perfect, perfect segue. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming out. Okay, public forum. I'm gonna read all this, just because. Individuals who wish to address the board should state their name and address for the record, make their points as clearly and concisely as possible, and limit their comments to a maximum of 3 minutes. May not be shared with or given to others. All comments shall be directed to the Board of Trustees. Thank you in advance for your comments. Anyone? Okay. Close public forum. Okay, trustee comments.
I don't really have any comments except kind of echoing what we talked about at the Township 101. So I know we don't have a lot of people here tonight, but it was really nice to attend the Township 101, but to have so many members of our community here, and really appreciating Vicki, the staff, you all, and Jennifer and her team for making that such a nice event. I heard feedback from some residents specifically that they found it very helpful, very informative, and I think a lot of residents had that moment that I had when I started getting more involved and really seeing how things work. It was eye-opening. The other thing that I wanted to say is that we were, because we mentioned this at the Township 101, that we were at the Ohio Township Association conference last week, and it was wonderful. And, you know, I think we're a very diverse board. We come from all different backgrounds, whether it's professionally, personally. And so whatever our background was, we came into this role. OTA has provided a lot of education for us. And the sessions are very helpful because it's conversations and discussions that our community is having, and so it helps us serve the community better. So grateful for you all for coordinating to allow us to attend, and for the support of the community for us being able to do that. So thank you, and that's all that I had.
Thank you.
What she said.
Well, and I just want to add on to that because, and I said this at Township 101 too, I want to say, when we were at the OTA conference, I had so many people, as soon as they knew I was from Anderson Township, say, you guys have the best administrators, the best staff. It's like, yeah, I know we do. I mean, our staff and administrators are known statewide for the work they do and the dedication, and other townships look up to what Anderson's doing. So that makes me very proud, and I just want to acknowledge that here. So thank you.
Steve.
Anything else?
Oh, good.
Great. Fiscal officer, Brian.
I would like to thank the citizens who came out to Township 101. That was my first Township 101. Thought we had a nice turnout, and we had a good turnout also for the breakout sessions for admin and fiscal office. Had some good questions. So you will have, you'll see in your packet that you have the normal financial reports. We don't have any appropriation changes yet. Our temporary appropriations are adequate to cover everything, so we don't need to change anything yet. So all we have to approve are the minutes for December 21st.
Thank you. I move to approve the meeting minutes for December 21st, 2023, as presented by the fiscal office.
Second.
Mrs. Lawston?
Yes.
Mr. Girth?
Yes.
Mrs. Stone?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
No report.
Thank you. Finance, any report? No? Thank you. Fire and rescue, ooh, we got a lot.
Ooh.
We got it buying and selling. That's right.
Good evening. Unfortunately, Chief Martin couldn't be with us. So we have a few agenda items to go over. The first item is 9A, and Fire Department would like to ask the trustees' permission to apply for a federal grant. It's an Assistance to Firefighters grant This grant has a 2-year performance period. Part of that is a matching fund of 10% or no more than $7,500.
I'd move to authorize the Anderson Township Fire and Rescue Department's application seeking an assistance to firefighter grant managed by the Department of Homeland Security Federal Emergency Management Agency, for which the Anderson Township Fire and Rescue Department's 10% matching funds requirement would not exceed $7,500 for the purpose of purchasing equipment and schooling during the 2-year performance period ending in 2025.
Second.
Mrs. Lawson?
Yes.
Mr. Girth?
Yes.
Mrs. Stone?
Yes.
Thank you.
You have this one?
Next item is 9B. This is for a Ohio Department of Public Safety grant for EMS training and supplies. This does not have any type of matching contingent based upon it. This grant is based upon just general dollars that are available through the Ohio Department of Public Safety.
I'd move to authorize the Anderson Township Fire and Rescue Department's application for the 2024 Ohio EMS Priority 1 grant, for which the Anderson Township Fire and Rescue Department would have no matching funds requirement for the purpose of purchasing EMS equipment or training during the 2024 award period.
Second.
Mrs. Lawson?
Yes.
Mr. Girth?
Yes.
Mrs. Stone?
Yes.
Thank you. Next item is 9C. The fire department is seeking authorization to place a 2009 Ford Expedition on the GovDeals website with a minimal bid starting at $1,500. This vehicle was an in-service fire vehicle that was used for many years. It's suffering extensive wear. It's not cost-effective at this time to continue using the vehicle.
I move to adopt the resolution authorizing the sale of surplus equipment pursuant to Section 505.10 of the revised code, providing for sale of personal property via internet auction.
Second.
Mrs. Lawson?
Yes.
Mr. Girth?
Yes.
Mrs. Stone?
Yes.
Thank you. The next item is 9D. The fire department seeking authorization to sell on GovDeals a 2009 Ford Expedition with a minimum sale price of $1,500. This vehicle was a first-line fire department vehicle. It also has extensive corrosion, body damage, and high mileage, so it's not financially suitable to continue to operate.
I move to adopt a resolution authorizing the sale of surplus equipment pursuant to Section 505.10 of the revised code, providing for sale of personal property via internet auction.
Second.
Mrs. Lawson?
Yes.
Mr. Girth?
Yes.
Mrs. Stone?
Yes.
Thank you very much. The last and final item for the fire department. The fire department is seeking to sell various items listed in an Exhibit A, which is obsolete EMS supplies. Through auction, with minimum bid of $1 for each piece of each item.
You're good.
So
Okay.
these items have no benefit to the fire department. They're labeled as obsolete at this time.
Well, somebody will want them.
Yeah.
Sounds like you're cleaning out your garage.
It does, doesn't it?
We're-
Yes, it does.
Thank you.
Did you call Pappas first?
He doesn't need it. I move to adopt the resolution authorizing the sale of surplus equipment pursuant to Section 505.10 of the revised code, providing for sale of personal property via internet auction.
Second.
Mrs. Lawson?
Yes.
Mr. Girth?
Yes.
Mrs. Stone?
Yes.
Thank you. That's all we have.
Thanks,
this
Bob.
Thank you.
evening. Oh, you're welcome.
I guess everybody else has to clean theirs out too, but I'm sure there'll be more. Thank you. Okay, planning and zoning, Paul?
Thank you. In December, which feels like a lifetime ago now.
It does.
So in December, this past December in 2023, Trustee Lawson, Ms. Earhart, and Ms. Sarah Donovan attended a recognition event for the We Thrive communities. And at that meeting, the township was presented a proclamation for meeting or in exceeding all the requirements to be a We Thrive community for 2023. This was our 9th year meeting those requirements. So, and for those of you that don't know, what the program is again, speaking of partnership, it's We Thrive initiative creates partnerships between communities, agencies, and public health to generate broad-based support for creating healthy environments for all the residents in which they live. So we're very excited and thankful our We Thrive committee and staff helped make this possible. And as you know, we're continuing these efforts with the staff-led committee for 2024, which will be our 10th year in the program.
Very nice. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Paul.
Okay. Sergeant Lang? Oh, Public Works, okay.
Good evening. We have a couple things tonight for Public Works. First up is our 2024 curb and sidewalk program. So on February 7th, administration opened bids for the 2024 curb and sidewalk program. And you should have a copy of those bids. The published estimate for the work was $3,195,000, and the recommended bid total was $3,060,856. Staff reviewed the bids and for content and completeness to establish the lowest and/or most responsible bidder. Based on this analysis, I recommend award of the project to R.A. Miller Construction Company in the amount of $3,060,856. Furthermore, there's a 10% contingency of $306,086 is recommended to cover any unforeseen conditions outside the original scope of work. And their 1994 TIF funds were budgeted in the 24 tax budget, which will cover the anticipated cost of this work.
Thank you. I move to accept the bid of $3,060,856 from R.A. Miller Construction Company Incorporated, deemed to be the best and lowest and/or responsible bidder for the 2024 curb and sidewalk project in accordance with the bid plans and specifications, together with a 10% contingency for a maximum appropriation of $3,366,942 in 1994 TIF funds. Further, this board hereby authorizes and directs the Township Administrator to give timely notice of award to the contractor and, after consultation with the Law Director, to enter into contract with R.A. Miller Construction Company Incorporated in accordance with their bid for the 2024 curb and sidewalk program.
Second.
Mrs. Luston?
Yes.
Mr. Girth?
Yes.
Mrs. Stone?
Yes.
Thank you. Next up, we are seeking authorization to purchase a new salt truck. And as the board is aware, Public Works budgeted 2024 TIF dollars to purchase a new Freightliner M2-106 conventional chassis truck with a Henderson dump body, snowplow, salt gate, and all the attachments that go with that. This truck is identical to the last two trucks we purchased in 2021. We've had excellent service and support from both Freightliner and Henderson. So with that, I am recommending that we purchase a 2025 Freightliner cab and chassis truck with a total purchase price of $219,947, utilizing the state bid purchase process. And that's before you this evening.
I move to authorize the purchase of equipment pursuant to Section 505.101 of the Ohio Revised Code.
Second.
Mrs. Luston?
Yes.
Mr. Girth?
Yes.
Mrs. Stone?
Yes.
Thank you.
Bye. Thanks for
Thank you.
coming.
Don't be a stranger.
Okay, Vicki?
Yes, you're going to hear from several people tonight. Mr. Magna has the first two items, followed by Mr. Severs, Ms. Parker, and then I'll take the last two.
Okay, thank you.
Good
Hello,
evening.
Mark.
Hello.
The first item I have for your consideration is to award the Ayers Road Improvements Project. On February 7th, administration opened bids for the project. You have the bid results attached to the motion. The recommended bid total $1,310,504.35. Staff reviewed the bid for content and completeness to establish the best and lowest and/or responsive bidder. Based on this, I recommend award of the project to Rack and Bollier in the amount of $1,310,504.35, with a 10% contingency of $131,050 to cover anything unforeseen. Currently, we have a 2023 purchase order out of 1994 TIF funds, which should cover the cost of the project. I can answer any questions, or Steve can.
Is this the section, where is this on here?
This is the section east of Asbury Road, going back to the Riverview Estate subdivision.
So it runs along Coldstream, that section?
Correct. The old farm road.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Good.
Good.
I move to adopt the resolution, I move to adopt the resolution hereby accepting the bid of $1,310,504.34 from Rack and Ballier, deemed to be the best and lowest and/or responsive bidder for the Ayers Road Improvements Project in accordance with the bid plans and specifications, together with a 10% contingency for a maximum appropriation of $1,441,554.35 and township funds currently secured in a purchase order using 1994 TIF funds. Further, this board hereby authorizes and directs the township administrator to give timely notice of award to the contractor and, after consultation with the law director, to enter into contract with Rack and Ballier in accordance with their bid for the Ayers Road Improvements Project.
Second?
Mrs. Lawson?
Yes.
Mr. Girth?
Yes.
Mrs. Stone?
Yes.
Thank you. My next item is a motion for consideration to bid the Vole Road sidewalk. Requesting authorization to prepare and advertise for bid for the sidewalk project. We plan to bid in April with a bid opening of May 8th and then come to the board at the May 16th meeting with recommendation to award. This is funded through a federal community development block grant fund.
I move to authorize bid preparation and advertisement for the Vole Road Sidewalk Project, which will be funded by a community development block grant.
Second.
Mrs. Lawson?
Yes.
Mr. Girth?
Yes.
Mrs. Stone?
Yes. Are there sidewalks back there now, or?
There are sidewalks on Larry Joe. There's a gap between there and Beachmont, and our long-term plan entails a crosswalk at Beachmont and Vole.
Oh, okay.
sidewalks on Beachmont. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you.
Those funds must be spent in targeted areas. Those are funds that Mr. Yao spoke to earlier.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's see, who's next?
Mr.
Would be
Seavers.
me. And so earlier this year, we talked with you all about the 8 Mile and Northport intersection. We're going to take this in a phased approach. The county engineer's office, rather than doing the striping and the no parking, they're asking that we just start with the no parking designation on both sides of Northport Drive approaching the 8 Mile intersection. So before you have a resolution, and the reason there's two resolutions cited, the 2004 resolution that cited there was the resolution that prohibited parking on one side of all township streets. In 2017, we modified that because we have a number of township streets, including Northport, where parking was permitted on both sides because of the width. So in essence, what the resolution before you would do is set no parking zones 100 feet east of the intersection, 70 feet west of the intersection, and actually the north side would be prohibited all the way to Hilltree Drive. The county has changed some timing on 8 Mile, so we're being responsive to some of the concerns that you heard earlier this evening. And if this isn't successful, then we'll come back with the striping and do more work in that area. So,
Thank you. I move to amend Resolution 17-0622-7 and Exhibit A of the Resolution 04-0520-07, regulating parking on all township streets with exceptions where consideration of public safety by the addition of the following language. No parking shall be permitted on the north side of Northport Drive from Hilltree Drive to a point 80 feet west of 8 Mile Road, nor on the south side of Northport Drive from a point 100 feet east of 8 Mile Road to a point 80 feet west of 8 Mile Road.
Second?
Mrs. Lawson?
Yes.
Mr. Girth?
Yes.
Mrs. Stone?
Yes.
and as I'm sure you'll probably hear some comments on social media on this, we did send notice of this out to the immediate neighbors, not that we were taking action tonight, but of the plans. No one has directly contacted me. I've heard through the rumor mill there's folks that aren't happy about this, but I've also heard there's a lot of folks at the school that are very happy with the improving the flow through that area. So we'll sign it accordingly. We'll work with Mr. Luganbuehl. We'll get a letter back out to the neighbors indicating what we're doing there. So.
Thank you.
Utarma. Is that next? Yes.
As I described in the memo that accompanies a motion in your packet, we did receive our renewal quote from Otarma. It is considerably higher than it has been in the past, and I wanted to explain just a little bit about why that is. Our policy is set up on a replacement cost basis, not an actual cash value. Actual cash value would simply be what the value of the item is at the time of loss, and that's factoring in depreciation, which can be considerable. So our policy is set up on a replacement cost basis, meaning they will pay the full value of what it costs to replace that piece of equipment, that vehicle, that speed trailer, that park bench at the time of loss. They will buy a brand new one of that same quality or better. So for that reason, and with the escalation of everything lately, that is what has driven our cost up by a larger margin than we have seen in the past. So in case you were wondering, because I know you probably stay awake at night wondering about these things.
What have been it in the past years? What's been the increase?
About 12 to 13,000.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it's about twice, but there is a
Okay.
catch-up factor to that with the predicted rise in inflation and what their cost will be to replace that item at full value.
It is still a good value
It
for
is,
us.
I believe it is, because we do get these added value items, including training, including periodic appraisal of all of our equipment that we would have to pay for those services otherwise. So I do believe it is still a good value. Again, it goes back to, this is an entity that is non-profit. There is not a margin for profit or report to stockholders as you might get with other privately held insurance companies, if that makes sense. So if the board is comfortable, I would ask for a renewal of this policy with OTARMA.
I'd move to authorize the renewal of the township's property and casualty insurance coverage with the Ohio Township Association Risk Management Authority for the 2024 policy year.
Second.
Mrs. Lawson?
Yes.
Mr. Girth?
Yes.
Mrs. Stone?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
We have
Medical insurance.
two final items for the board's consideration. The first is a resolution that would authorize several payments, not only for insurance, but also for Boundary Medical supplies, for lawn care, and for our computer technology. The reason for this is when the staff submit purchase orders, if a purchase order is not submitted and approved prior to the receipt of an invoice, either the fiscal officer has to sign off on that purchase order if it is below $3,000. If it is above $3,000, the Board of Trustees must adopt a resolution approving these particular purchase orders. We are in a bit of a transition phase where the fiscal office in the past, prior operations several years ago, at the beginning of the year, number one, it took months to close out the end of the year. So for example, 2023 year end may not be closed out until late February or even March. This year it was closed in record time, thanks to Mrs. Disk and the fiscal office. 2023 was closed out on January 4th, which has never happened before. Part of it too is that prior fiscal office employees filled out the purchase orders for every department at the beginning of the year. We're transitioning that for more accountability to the department heads or the managers or the staff that are responsible for that particular expenditure. Because it was closed in record time, we're still behind on that training aspect, and we are preparing for next year. Mrs. Desk is working on a spreadsheet that will outline the purchase orders that are annual that need to be prepared, the responsible person for doing that, the second person if that first person is not available, so we have that redundancy built in. So some of these purchase orders, by no fault of any of the staff, were submitted after we started to receive invoices, which is why we're bringing them before the board tonight, asking for you to authorize these expenditures.
I move to adopt the resolution authorizing payments.
Second?
Mrs. Lawson?
Yes.
Mr. Girth?
Yes.
Mrs. Stone?
Yes.
Thank you. The last item we have is the annual request for continued membership in the Center for Local Government. The Center for Local Government membership just reached a record 67 members. That's townships, villages, cities, counties, City of Cincinnati, Hamilton County are members. And this is an organization that is true collaboration, where we all work together, we share information, we share ideas, we share training. And we have several graduates from the Center for Local Government Leadership Academy with us, Mr. Magna, Mr. Luganbuehl. I know, Paul, we had several people in planning and zoning that participated in that program. It helps to prepare employees and those that are interested for future leadership positions. I have asked Mrs. Disk if she's interested in participating this year in the Leadership Academy, and we would like to get her application, make sure that she's able to do that. The CLG also provides us with a very important mutual aid component. Mutual aid with fire and rescue, mutual aid with law enforcement is kind of an automatic situation. But we learned years and years ago with the tornadoes that blew through Blue Ash at the time that mutual aid for public works is a little bit more difficult to coordinate. There's, it's not necessarily automatic. When the call comes out, everybody runs, but just having documentation as far as all the equipment that's available for each entity that's a member, so that if Public Works needs to borrow a certain piece of equipment, they can look at that list. It's a Public Works mutual aid pact. And that is something that is also provided by the Center for Local Government, along with other benefits. I will point out I am the current vice chair of the Center for Local Government Board. I am in my 3rd term on that organization, so I really hope the board considers joining again. Anderson Township is one of the founding members. My predecessor was involved. We are one of the founding members of the Center for Local Government.
I move to authorize renewal of the township's membership in the Center for Local Government for 2024 at an annual rate of $3,825.
Second.
Mrs. Lawson?
Yes.
Mr. Girth?
Yes.
Mrs. Stone?
Yes, and I just want to say on that, when you said there's classes in leadership, and what, I just had an employee, one of our staff, say to me recently, she was able to attend a class where, having to do with her job and allowing her to do her job better, and she was very appreciative that we offered that. So I just think that's important that we do that and we keep doing it. So.
Thank you. That's all we have this evening.
Okay, the next meeting is March 21st, 2024 at 5 p.m. and I move to adjourn.
Second.
Mrs. Lawson?
Yes.
Mr. Girth?
Yes.
Mrs. Stone?
Yes. There we go.
Thanks.
I did not have my microphone on for most of that meeting.